Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Super excited to show you guys some harvesting today. It's our second week of September here in Alberta, so things are starting to slow down. As you can tell, it's a bit overcast today, so it's not as warm or mild out today, but that's okay. So we're gonna start here at our onion and leek patch, and we're gonna take a look at a couple things. So the first thing here that we're gonna look at is our leeks. They're really starting to get thicker now, much more girthier, so that's great. We're going to leave these leeks in the ground as long as possible to give them as much time as they need to be able to really girth it up and be able to start harvesting those. So they're not quite ready, but over the next week or two, we will begin to start pulling those leeks out. And then we're going to move into our onion patch. So as you can see, some of our onions, the necks, as they're called, are starting to crack and they are starting to lay down. So they are beginning to become ready for harvest. This first section of onions here are Celery onions, so these yellowish ones here, and some of them are ready. I'd say we've got about 10% of them are starting to lay down. But we've got some really nice sized onions in that section, so really pleased with that. The next section of onion we have are our red wing onions. They're also looking like they're a really nice sized bulb in there, and we only have one or two that are starting to lay down on those. So we'll be leaving those in the ground much longer. Our next section of onions are Alyssa Craigs, and they are much closer to being ready to harvest. So what we want to do to harvest these guys is we're just going to reach on in here. We're going to grab it by the neck, and we're just going to give it a quick little pull. I want to dust off some of this dirt from these guys before I throw them in my basket. And then we're going to hang these guys all upside down to allow the greenery to dry off so that we can get ready for our storage for the winter. So we'll throw that in our basket. And same thing, if I want another one, I just reach in by the neck and give it a pull. Dust off some of the dirt. It's a really nice sized onion. Once again, this one here is an Alyssa Craig variety. So it's kind of a white onion, but really nice, really sweet with that nice onion flavor. And then our last section of onions are the Celery onions. So they're more of a yellow onion, just like the first Celery ones. And they're looking pretty good. The Celery and the Celery onions are new to us this year, so I'm not sure how they will store over the winter, but we're looking forward to testing that out. And they're about 10 to 15% of them are starting to lay down. So over the next couple days, we'll be coming in here and pulling out all the laying down ones and keeping them separate by the different varieties so that we can have knowledge of which one's which as we go to enjoy these onions over the winter and into next spring. And then our next little section we've got a little bit of celery. So this celery here hasn't had a chance to grow nearly as big as the celery in the middle of the garden, but it has started to come in. Our month of August was pretty cool this year. We averaged around 20 degrees to 25, so it wasn't quite mild enough for the celery to really take off and do really well, but it's done okay, and we have been able to take the odd piece of it from there. Celery is a really heavy water drinker, so you got to keep that in mind when you're doing celery. Next, we've got our carrot patch. So as you can see from our carrot patch, we have been removing carrots from the one corner, and I'm actually going to remove some carrots from the opposite corner today because it looks like there's some pretty big ones here on this front corner. So our soil around our carrots has become pretty compact from all the watering we've done and just over the year. So I am going to use my trowel to help me loosen the soil around these carrots a little bit, just to help me out. So what I want to do with my trowel is I want to stick it straight into the ground so that I'm not disrupting the carrots. Last thing I want to do is disrupt the carrots that I'm trying to pull. So we're just trying to keep it straight in the ground. I'm going to work my way around a couple of these because we do have our carrots planted pretty tightly, but it's what works good for us. So it's been working, and we're not going to mess with the process if it works. Don't fix it if it ain't broke. Let's see if we can get this big guy out. That's a nice thick guy, really nice size. These ones are just a standard orange carrot. Oh, this one's got a little bit of growth. This is pretty common for a lot of carrots to have these little offshoots. You just won't see those in the grocery store. They won't sell them to us unless you get one of those imperfect bags. But as you can see, we've got some really nice sized carrots coming in out of here, some nice variety of sizes. These littler ones that kind of haven't had a chance to grow, we save these and feed these to our dogs. They quite love them, so they're going to be really pleased to see that I have a couple little carrots for them after this. And I'm just going to keep pulling now that I've loosened the soil around these guys. Get a few extra ones, and then we'll move on to the next thing in the garden to show you more. So our carrots, oh, that guy snapped. So you do have to be careful when you're pulling your carrots. Try not to twist them at all. That's what I did with this guy. I gave him a bit of a twist, and then he snapped. That other piece I am just going to leave in the soil, and it will decompose down in there. Oh, and then we got another funny guy. So that happens sometimes when they're close together, but that's okay. No, I didn't loosen my soil there enough, but that's okay. We'll get that guy out. Hopefully the dogs will get him, unless it's too big for them. Might be too big for the dogs. We'll get these last couple guys out, and then we'll carry on to the next section. All my leaves are snapping. This is why we have the trowel. There we go. As you can see, this one here, it's a little bit twisty, and it's just because it's planted close to its neighbors. But overall, they've grown pretty nicely in there. So there's those. What I do like to do before I bring my carrots in is I like to just clean off all their leaves so that I'm not bringing any critters up to my house. So we'll throw these into our basket as well. And then we'll carry on to the next section. Save that one for the dogs. Come collect it after. So after these guys, we're going to check out these tomatoes back here. As you can see, there's some pretty red ones. Honestly, we're not 100% sure what type of tomatoes these guys are, but we definitely have some that are ready for harvesting. So tomatoes, you can either snap them. There'll be a little break in the stem where it snaps off nicely, or you can use your pruners to get them from there. They're looking pretty nice, starting to really turn color. So I'm going to just reach in here. I see some pretty big ones kind of into the plant. Let's see if I can get a couple of those to show you. This guy here has got a little bit of splitting damage from earlier, but it had repaired itself, so he should still be pretty good to eat. And like I mentioned, we're not 100% sure what these ones are. We kind of have had a lot of tomatoes over the last little bit, so we just kind of planted what we had when we were at the point where everything we wanted was in the ground. We planted all our leftovers. That guy split a bit. He's over ripened. But that's okay. We've got quite a few tomatoes to pull, and you guys will see that as we go today through our little tour. So I'm going to leave the rest of those, and I'll come back in to get the rest of those after, because there's quite a few of them. And then here's our other celery plants that I was telling you about. So these ones have done definitely a bit better. You can see there's definitely some more girthiness to them, but they're still not as girthy as you'd really like a celery plant to be. You can just break them off. So they're still pretty rubbery, haven't really formed as much as we want. And that's just because we've had a cooler summer this year than we have previous years. We'll take a look at our pickling cucumbers. So they have started to finish up now because we are into our second week of September. That's a nice little size guy. And I see one that we've missed over the last week or two. So he's gotten large, and I'll show you that guy in a second as well. Just sneak around and get it. They've really started to grow up now, so that's really nice to see. Just multiple different sizes. That's what happens when you let them get a little bit big. But that's okay. You can still use this for slicing and make a slicing cucumber. Oh, there's a really big one. So it's good for slices when you have them these sizes. And they just pull off really nice and easily. And we'll probably make some jarred pickles out of these guys. Maybe fridge ready ones, because we're getting to the point where we're not getting quite as many. So it's harder to make a big batch of pickles. And then we've got some slicing cucumbers here. I did see a couple that are starting to get to a decent size. We do want them a little bit bigger than this guy here. He's all right size, but a little bit bigger would be better for these guys because they are a slicing cucumber. So let's take a quick look, see if there's anything that's really worth collecting. Our one son really likes just eating these as well. So sometimes I do harvest them when they're a little bit smaller because he'll just eat it, the whole cucumber just like that. There you go. I see a real nice one laying there. So that's a really nice size for these slicing cucumbers. And then you can see the difference between these guys here. Our slicing cucumbers, the dark green, and our pickling cucumbers, this lighter green. They both have kind of a prickly, almost cactusy kind of texture to them. And that just kind of washes off as you wipe it away. So just be aware of that. If you're growing your cucumbers and you haven't done this before, they will feel a little bit prickly at first, but that does go away. Finding other ones that I've missed. So that's our cucumbers. In behind our cucumbers, we've got some of our Roma tomatoes, and as you can tell, we have quite a few of them who are starting to turn color. We've been really trying to keep them up off the ground, but these Roma tomatoes have gotten quite heavy and are doing their own thing. So I do like to take some of these guys when they're more of an orange color. These guys will be used specifically for sauce. We're probably going to make a lot of pizza sauce out of these guys. And overall, we haven't had too many problems with them. We've got a little bit of trouble with the leaves dying off on the bottom, but that's pretty common for your tomatoes. But we haven't had too much trouble with bottom rot or anything like that, or powdery mildews, kind of the common problems. Blight, haven't had to deal with it too much. Now that our season is getting cooler, they are starting to struggle a bit more, just because we're not getting that really warm temperatures that they really like. And then just back up over this way, we're going to take a quick look at our pepper plants. We tend to miss these guys a lot in our tours because they're just kind of hiding in here. But these ones are a bell pepper plant. And it's really exciting to show you guys that we do actually have some nice sized peppers that have developed on these plants. And they all have a couple in here that are growing pretty nicely. So we're going to let these guys grow as long as possible as well. We won't let the temperature get too much below 5 degrees at night though, because they do like the soil to be warmer. If we have to cover anything in the garden for frost issues, these peppers will be one of the few things that we will try and extend the season of, just so that they can really ripen. Because this guy could turn yellow, orange, or red because they are a bell pepper. Green peppers are great, but I'd like to see if we can get some to turn color just a little bit. Pepper plants are also perennial, not an annual. So you can save these and you can dig out their system, trim them all back to just basically the stalk, no leaves, and keep it in a pot over the winter and then try and regrow it next year, and it'll give you a bit of a head start. We will be sharing a video about that later because we do want to keep a couple of our jalapeno and chili plants for next year. So stay tuned for that video coming up in the coming weeks. And we're going to go back over this way. It's the first time we've really been deep in the garden with you guys, but it's always worth it. We're going to take a peek at the zucchini and see if we've got anything. So this year our zucchinis, because they did start a bit later, I don't see any on here. I haven't done nearly as much pruning to them as I do. Normally I will take the bottom leaves and I'll prune those off of the zucchini. And that just helps airflow coming through and things like that. But because ours haven't gotten as big as they have in the past, I haven't needed to do that. But because of that airflow, it will prevent your powdery mildews and things that your squashes are really susceptible. It will really help prevent those issues because they have that good airflow. Then we've got our chili peppers here. They're looking pretty good. We've got some really nice looking chilies starting in some of these plants. None of them have started to turn color yet, but our chili peppers up at the house have, and it's becoming really exciting. The majority of these peppers will be just saved, and they're going to be dehydrated and then processed into a powder so that we've got lots of chili powder and things like that from our own stock in our garden. I'm going to sneak back over to our raised beds now. And in our first raised bed, we've got some green onions, which we have been harvesting. These ones here, we won't be trying to save over the winter. So over the next week or two, we're going to be eating a lot of green onions and just using those guys up as much as we can, because I don't want any of them to go to waste. But overall, really happy with their flavor and their taste. And then we've got some beets in this bed here. This is our candy cane striped and our golden beets. Some of these guys are such a big size. I'm going to show you a few of them. Our candy cane ones have done really, really well. And the nice thing about these guys, to show you on their leaves here, it's a nice red color, and then it kind of gets into this lighter, but you can almost see the striping that is inside the beet itself on the leaves. So that's pretty exciting. And your beet leaves are edible as well. They can be used in salads. They can be fried up. We're not huge fans of them here. I don't mind them myself, but we don't use them nearly as much as we should. So just keep that in mind if you're growing beets, that your leaves are edible as well. And then We also have our golden beets. I see a really large one here, so I'll show you guys. It's a nice size, and it's that nice kind of orangey gold color. And once again, if you take a look at his leaves, he doesn't have any red in his leaves. It's almost more of a yellowish tinge towards the bottom. So it's a nice way to be able to tell the difference between your different type of beets, especially if you forget where you've planted them. And then we're just going to sneak over to our one little bed here. These are where our black opal cherry tomatoes are. These are one of our favorite types of tomatoes, and as you can see, we have quite a few purple looking tomatoes on these branches. See some really nice ones over on that side, but these ones here are almost ripe as well. Nice and round, really juicy. So we're just going to kind of get a couple of these guys. You see how nice and easy they just kind of pop off into my hands. That's just snapping right where I was showing you guys before on the larger tomatoes, and they just snap right there. So like I mentioned, there's quite a few here, so I'm not going to make you guys watch me pull them all, but I am going to come back and collect the rest of these little black opal cherry tomatoes when I'm finished. And then moving along, our onions here are almost ready to start collecting our seeds. You can really see here in the seed pods that we've got some really nice definition of the pods. Some of them have started to open, so we will be harvesting these now and starting to collect these seeds. The nice thing about them is when you grab one of these little seed pods, you kind of burst it open. Oh, that one seems to be like it's almost empty. So some of them will be kind of empty, some of them won't be. I can see some there. This guy here. He's got some really nice looking seeds. Yeah, you can press pause. Everyone, sorry about that little time glitch there. Our dogs decided that our neighbor was going to give some good pets, and they went running over to see him. So what we were talking about was our black opal cherry tomatoes here, and I was showing you guys how beautiful the color of these guys are. So as you can see, they turn into this really nice purple color. They've got really nice flavor and are super juicy. You can even see like the veining in these guys here. So really pleased with these guys, and we grew these from seeds we had harvested, so that's exciting as well. And then we've got our lettuce that we've been allowing to go to seed. This year we've had a lot of wasps, so this is like the only place on our whole garden that I've seen any signs of aphids has been on the lettuce, and I don't even see any here. They say that the wasps like all the aphids, but we haven't really had any aphid issues this year, so it's been a little bit strange for that. But hopefully we'll be able to harvest some of these seeds over the next little bit and be able to grow our lettuce from our own seeds. This front bed here has got our red beets in it. I'm not going to pull any of these guys today because I'm just kind of waiting till I'm ready to use them. We've been mostly using these for roasting, but really pleased with them overall. You can see that this bed's kind of empty, and that's because I have done some canning of beets as well, and it got the majority of them for the canning. And we like to use these deep red ones for the canning, not so much the striped ones or the golden ones. And then we've got our strawberry patch. As you can see, I have been in the process of laying some straw down. I just haven't laid it in our ever-bearing patch yet. And the reason for that is, just as I was saying, wasps have been quite the problem this year. And they absolutely love these strawberries that are still ripening in this patch. And this patch has been just covered in wasps for about 2 to 3 weeks now, so we're just kind of letting it just do its thing, not really grabbing strawberries from here anymore just because of those wasps, and we don't want to interrupt them, and I don't really want to get stung. Just in behind our strawberries, we've got our rhubarb, and you can really see that it's starting to die off now, so we will be getting in there and pulling away all those dead leaves. Just as it continues to die off, we'll continue to pull away the dead leaves and have that tidied up. It will look basically like just little mounds of dirt by the time our garden has finished for the year. And then on this corner, we've got our other zucchini plant. He's looking quite a bit larger. I'm not seeing, oh, I do see one zucchini. So the key with zucchini is you don't want to let them get too big. You want to continue to harvest them so that you can have continuous growth of zucchinis throughout the year. So this one here is a little bit small for what I like to harvest, but because I want some of these other ones to get to fulfill their potential, I am going to harvest these couple ones that are a little bit on the small side. Oh, just the one will come for now. And then hopefully these other couple little small ones I see will grow and thicken up a little bit for us. And And then we've got our pumpkin patch. It's looking pretty dry right now, so we're gonna have to get some water on him here. But we've got some really nice pumpkins developing, and this guy here is starting to turn color. So he's a nice size pumpkin. He's turning color. No sign of rot on the underside of him. I have checked. So really pleased with him overall. Does look like maybe something's tried to burrow into him, but for the most part, pumpkins are pretty hardy, and we're really excited just to, have a couple pumpkins, because that's pretty neat that we were able to grow our own pumpkins. And there's, I think, 3 of them that are a decent size, and that we may even get to carve if they last that long into the end of October. It being only the second week of September might be iffy. Then we've got some more of our Romas along here, so I'm just going to grab a couple more of them. Same thing, just really snap it right at its little bend, and then they come off so easily. But as you can tell, we've got quite a few along this fence. And I just want to try and get these guys that are super low to the ground, so that hopefully they can ripen for us fully in our garage. So our tomatoes that are more of this orange color, we will put into a brown paper bag, and we'll just leave that brown paper bag sealed for a couple days. The tomatoes create their own gases that will help them ripen, so it really helps. The odd tomato I do put on my windowsill, but I couldn't imagine putting as many tomatoes as I'm going to have over the next couple weeks on my windowsills. My house would be absolutely over-riddled with tomatoes if I was to do that. So the brown paper bag method works really well for us. And then just to finish up our tour, we'll show you our one side of the garden that is basically all done. We've got the remainders of our pea pods here. It still has been giving us a few peas, and the dogs absolutely love the peas for a snack. So we do leave it here as long as possible, and they get their snacks all throughout the season, so they quite love it. And then we've got where our potatoes were, as you've seen in previous videos. And if you have not, go back to our channel and watch. You can see what type of potatoes we had here. We had a decent harvest, but now this part of the garden is just kind of sitting. And then we've got our corner bean trellis. We're just letting these seeds or these beans go to seed now, so they'll be nice and dried out for us, and we can harvest these if we want to collect seeds. This whole contraption will be coming out over the next week or 2 as well, just like everything in the garden. All our fence lines come out, and that way we can give our garden a good turn. We're going to get manure in here, compost in here, so that our garden has a really good treatment this year, so we have really good growth next year as well. And then we've got our asparagus patch. This will also be trimmed down in the next couple weeks so that it's nice and flush with the ground, and it's going to get a fresh layer of straw as well. And then we've got some herbs. Our basil's gone to flower in there, and that's okay. We're just going to kind of let it do its thing. It's kind of being taken over by our dill here. I have allowed our dill to go to seed, and the plan with that is I want to collect these seeds, because dill seeds are really good for pickling and such. You can buy them in the store, just dill seeds, and I'm going to collect my own so that I can have my jar of my own dill seeds and maybe get away from buying them from the store if I can, because I've got all this dill, I might as well use it. And then our last patch is our brassicas. As you can see, they look like they've been quite eaten over the last little bit. Due to our location, we have a lot of canola that has grown around us. And if you have canola around you, you may know that black flea beetles can be an issue. And they have definitely taken over from the white cabbage moths, and they have now come in here and decimated what was left of our brassicas. So it's slightly sad. They've even been eating the seed pods on our broccoli here. I've been trying to keep these so hopefully we can collect our own seeds, but these little black flea beetles are even eating those. So it may have been a lost kind of project, but it's a learning experience. That's with gardening. So I'm learning, and I definitely do not like the black flea beetles. Next year, we're going to put our brassicas in a box or in a greenhouse, and they're going to be completely closed off from the world, fresh soil for them, so that we don't have the chance of introducing these black flea beetles to them, because they do live in the soil. So that being said, that's why if you have canola around you, that will be an issue, because they live in the soil and they will just spread to wherever they need to be. Our Brussels sprouts are the last of our brassicas. We have had some Brussels developing on the stalks, but unfortunately I don't think they're going to get quite big enough for us to actually be able to harvest. So this section of the garden will be coming out in the next couple weeks. Just been trying to let the flea beetles dissipate a little bit on their own because I honestly don't want to get myself covered in flea beetles while I clean it up. That being said, that's the end of our garden tour and harvest for today. So if you haven't had a chance to see our previous videos, make sure you go back to our channel and check those out. And just a quick little peek of what we've got in our basket for you. Carrots, beets, onions, cucumbers, zucchini, tomatoes. Pretty good haul in here, so pretty happy with this overall. And as you could see, there's still tons of tomatoes that are needing us to go and harvest. So we're going to get back to work here, and we'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and bye now.